Okay. Let's get into it. Play the intro. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, yours truly, Dawg Knight. And stop the music. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. It is the Morning Night Live with your host, me, yours truly, Marty, also known as PDawgKnight on the internet. It is Thursday, FTG Thursday, for that matter, the 10th of September, 2020. This is the 414th episode of the Morning Night Live. And the drip of an October surprise, which is more like an September, October cascade of bullshit is coming. Now, it seems very much as though, whether it is or not, it seems to be a coordinated effort between the media and Democrats and the Biden campaign, which is very redundant, almost as redundant as CNN sucks. And the latest, and there's look, between now and election day. So right now it's Woodward's book. I know that John Brennan has a book. Well, we have our first super chat of the day. I'll pause here for a second. I have my headphones up way too loud. Thank you, Black Hebrew Israelite.
That's right.
Who says he makes rain on the wiped and the unwiped so you can wash your ass.
That's right.
If you're not understanding the wiped and unwiped thing, you got to go watch Hard Bastard. You'll understand it after a couple episodes. Anyway, thank you, Black Hebrew Israelite. And who is now... hang on, let me fix this. I didn't do that thing, and so now I gotta make sure. Okay, we fixed that. That's gone. Hang on. Let me do this. Do this again. All right, and I'm gonna play this. Let me do this real quick. I'm sorry, guys. This is some sausage making. And now the superstar donor of the day.
That's right.
All right, thank you, Black Hebrew Israelite. For the donation of $2 on the super chat, which is you can find that in the description down below. The cascade, the waterfall, the babbling brook, the flowing river of October surprise that the multiple team forces are throwing at the world. And so yesterday, it was Bob Woodward's excerpts from his new book regarding the Siamese sniffles, and regarding that Trump knew this was a deadly virus, and he downplayed the dangers. Yes, whoever mentioned coffee, I do have my cup of reparations coffee right here in the 2020 FTG cup, available at PDawgKnight.live. All right. So anyway, before we get into it, let's say good morning to everybody, because it's one of those things. Who have been paying attention to this timeline as far as this whole coronavirus thing. Since early January, when Styx Hexenhammer 666 started talking about it, I started paying attention myself. And he was really one of the first people who really talked about it and, had some information on it. And I was just like, oh, this is interesting. And it's funny because almost everything Styx predicted came true. But I digress. Let's say good morning, everybody. First of chat today. Now, I think something's wrong here. Did my chat reset? There were some people who were here earlier than this that I may have accidentally yeeted when I reset my stream. So I apologize for that. So Aaron Meredith, I know you're here. Oh yeah, it was Jaeger Pony was here first. Jaeger Pony was here first. So Jaeger Pony gets the bell, even though Aaron Meredith's name is there first. But Jaeger Pony, you get the bell because you were here. I remember that distinctly. Also good morning, Aaron Meredith, Stab and Joe Scarborough. Oh, this is right. It's back to, it was normal. Maybe, Aaron Meredith, I'm going to give you a bell too, just because I'm not 100% sure. Also, good morning, Stab and Joe Scarborough, keeping the knife sharp. Good morning to Maddie, one of my news sources. Good morning, Select a Boy. Yeah, boy. And Tyler S. Septus Wolf, Zombie Teddy, TC Ball, Chi-Town J, Mike Savage, Blarg. Good morning, Renee Mayette, Black Hebrew Israelite.
That's right.
Also, E. Michael Kessler, what's happening? James Colley, Donatello, Slap-a-Fellow, Zero the Hero, hey Larry. Also, Damn It Chadwick, a.k.a. Chadwick Dupree, Duck Dog, James Crow, good morning, E. Michael, Anna Lynn, D.I. Freighter Watcher, Bim Jim, what's up? Advocatus Diabli, the Devil's Advocate, Sean, D.W., Brian Mullins, the Fox, James Crow, God Emperor of Duncan. Wow, there's a lot of people here. Mr. Scott, what's up? And that's everyone in the chat. If you're lurking or working or driving, please be careful. Keep your eyes on the road. Don't get your hands caught in the press or anything like that. And don't let your boss catch you sneaking a listen while you're listening. And good morning, Katie did skates. All right. So, obviously, the big news yesterday. Oh, we do have a... our second super chat of the day. And it is from... Wow, this must be Handjob. That sounds like Handjob. That sounds like a Polynesian or Filipino name. Handjob. Thank you, Anita Handjob, with the 556, who says, "My sister Dixie Normus said hello." Normus. Oh, maybe that's Lithuanian. Handjob and Lithuanian, because their sisters. Last name is Normus. Dixie Normus. Huh. Dixie Handjob, whose new name is Dixie Normus. Okay, I got it. And thank you, Anita Handjob. I appreciate your 556. And you are now the superstar donor of the day. All right. Anyway, you had your hand caught in a press before. Not fun. No, I can't imagine it would be fun. When I was in college, one summer, I worked in a place that made washing machines. So we were making, press parts at a press machine. Oh my gosh, I could not imagine. Of course, you had to have the two-handed things. You have so that you couldn't get your hands caught. You had two start buttons that both had to be pressed before the press worked. But Anyway, all right, so the big news yesterday is the venerable Bob Woodward, the legendary journalist, formerly of the Washington Post, now freelancing as a writer and, I don't know, whatever the hell he does, released some of the video and some of the audio and excerpts of his book, where the president of the United States, who, some people just don't like, hello, Smarty Bear, some people just don't like, apparently stated in an interview. Now, it's interesting how Twitter did this, too, because I'm not sure what this little ellipsis is here, where they have this space that doesn't have the whole thing. But Trump stated in an interview with journalist Bob Woodward that he wanted to play down the gravity of COVID-19. Okay. Hello, Circle Zero. In an audio recording obtained by the Washington Post and CNN, it's funny how obtained, that's interesting. That's an interesting way to put it. Obtained by the Washington Post and CNN, the two probably most anti-Trump entities on the planet, got them. President Trump stated to journalist Bob Woodward that he played down the risk of COVID-19 to avoid creating a panic. At least they put the rest of the sentence in there. Interesting. On Wednesday, Trump called Woodward's book, titled Rage, a political hit job, and said that he wanted to keep the country calm. Now, the date of the interview for this was February 7th, and a lot of people were making hay of this. And I'm going to let you listen to something here. I want to know if you catch something about this recording, because they've been playing it, over and over. Brian Stelter says, this is President Trump on tape, February 7th, saying that the coronavirus is more deadly than, your strenuous flu, but he minimized the threat to the public. Now, that's not a quote. On February 26th, he told the public, I think that's a problem that's going to go away. Now, I'm not really sure what the contradiction is there. Is it going to go away now or eventually or what? But that's what Brian Stelter wrote. And here's the clip that Brian Stelter put with that. Now, listen to this very carefully. Listen to what he says. And I want to see if you catch something here, because there's a couple of interesting things that I noticed about this immediately as one who's followed this whole thing very closely over the last, since January. All right, so here's President Trump.
What was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, and I think he's going to have it in good shape, but, it's a very tricky situation.
By the way, remember the date. Remember the date. This is February 7th. I'm going to play the whole thing, and then we're going to go through it line by line.
Indeed,
it goes through air, Bob. That's always tougher than the touch. The touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed. And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus. People don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year here. Who would ever think that, right?
I know. It's
pretty amazing. And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per. This is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff.
All right, wait. I didn't even see what. See Anderson or not Anderson. Who's this dude? I can't remember who this is. Anyway, let's see what he says.
John, I just want all of us to remember we are used to the virus now, as used as you can be. But if you go back to the beginning of February, the American public, we thought this was a problem in China. The notion of it being airborne, 5% more deadly. These are very specific details that the president had in the very same time period that he is saying it's all going to go away.
Right, that's
is it? Hang on, let's see what else he says
February 7th. You just played that piece of the conversation. 7th. He talks about how deadly it is. He said 2 weeks later, 20 days later in India, it's a problem that's going to go away. Within a couple of days, it's going to be down to zero. The president telling Woodward one thing, telling the American people in the world something very different. But the president makes no bones about it, that he was doing this on purpose, that he decided as a strategy not to convey the seriousness of this because he didn't want to, quote, incite a panic.
Correct.
Okay, now, what does anyone notice something about that? I'm going to go through it again because I want to go specifically to each point that I wanted to make here. Very fascinating. Okay. So here we go.
And so what was President Xi saying yesterday?
Well, we were talking mostly about the virus, And I think he's going to have it in good shape. But
now, I think he's going to have it in good shape. Why would the President of the United States have thought that on February 7th? Remember, this is a February 7th interview. Okay? Well, because the WHO, remember, they hadn't, the WHO earlier in January had said, okay, no human transmission, but then they decided on the 20th, I think it was the 20th of January, that it was human transmission, and that the Chinese at the time were completely shutting down their country. There were not a whole bunch of cases around the world at the time. They thought they were finding them. They were just finding cases in Italy. I believe the first case in the United States had been discovered, and they had those people isolated, not realizing that probably it already transmitted to other people, because people have been traveling from Wuhan all over the world the entire month of December. I'm not going to start yelling. But anyway, and the WHO was talking about how well the Chinese were doing on it. Were taking care of it. So, and Xi Jinping himself, was probably telling the president, well, we think we have it isolated. Okay? Okay, that's one part. Now, let's keep going.
It's a very tricky situation.
Indeed,
it goes through air, Bob. That's always...
Now, let's stop with there. At the time, they thought it could be airborne. And in fact, we're going to get into this because I want to talk about who the hell was advising the president, by the way. We'll get to that in a minute. Now we know that it's not an airborne illness. Now the reason we're doing the 6 feet of social distancing and mask is because they believe it's from droplets and contact, not airborne as in an airborne aerosol type disease like tuberculosis or measles. It is not airborne. It is by droplets. So that part in this part of the interview is wrong. And yet you heard the reporters at the end of this talking about he knew it was airborne, da 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 da. They're all repeating it as if it is airborne. It's not. We know that it's not now. We know that it's droplets. We know that it is if you cough or sneeze and you get your spittle or even a trace of your spittle on somebody, that's where it could be contagious. If it were airborne, your little paper mask that they have you wearing all the time, if it were aerosol, that wouldn't do shit for you. Just saying. Let's continue.
Always tougher than the touch. The touch, you don't have to touch things, right? But the air, you just breathe the air, and that's how it's passed.
And again, there's a reason the president said this on February 7th, and we'll get into that in a minute. But he was wrong. Must have heard that from either someone in the medical community or one of his advisors. I wonder who would it be his advisors? I'm curious. Okay, let's keep going.
And so that's a very tricky one. That's a very delicate one. It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus.
Oh,
people don't realize we lose 25,000, 30,000 people a year.
Yes,
here.
we do. In some cases, 60,000 to 70,000 could be.
I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Okay.
And then I say, well, is that the same thing? This is more deadly. This is 5 per. This is 5% versus.
This is the other thing the reporters at the end of this clip repeated. that it's 5%, at least at the time they thought it could be. Now, you got to remember, though, the more we learned about this, the more time we spent, the experts, I'm going to put parentheses, maybe experts, the more time the experts studied it, and the more people we had tested, and the more people we found who had it, and the more people we found who tested negative, we figured out that 5%, was way lower than that. In fact, at one point they were saying, maybe 3.5%. And then remember the time someone said 3.5%, and then the president something to the effect of, but I think it will probably, I'm guessing it'll probably be much, much lower. Now there's something he got right, because we know it's much lower now. So clearly on February 7th, there are reasons the president may have felt this way. But then again, now, the idea that he's downplaying, hi Zan Wild, how you doing? The idea that he was downplaying it so as not to create a panic. Do y'all remember, I'm going to guess in mid-March, when people started learning about this, there was a certain type of commodity in particular. Well, there were several, but there was one particular commodity, though, that was a little bit challenging to find. In fact, I think it's related to Black Hebrew Israelites' first super chat of the day. Let's see. What's this say? I'm going to read. He said, Black Hebrew Israelites' first super chat was saying he makes rain on the wiped, and the unwiped, so you can wash your ass. It was that paper stuff, toilet paper. Yes, toilet paper. Remember, we couldn't find toilet paper because people were already panicking. Now, just imagine if Trump would have held a press conference, and before he held the press conference, he took that coiffed pet, whatever that thing is, on his head, put a little extra hairspray in it, and set it on fire, and said, "We're all gonna die! We're all gonna die! You're all gonna die!" Would there have been panic? Of course, remember, the other thing happening at this time was no one was listening to Trump about this, because at least some weren't, particularly in the halls of Congress and in the Senate, because this was all happening during impeachment. Do you think any of these assholes, regardless of what he was saying about it, were listening to a god dang thing he was saying anyway? Because February 7th is when he said this. A couple days later, he restricted travel from China. A couple weeks after that, he restricted travel from Europe. And in fact, the current Democratic candidate for president of the United States accused him of racism and being xenophobic for doing it. Also, he had a team that had been meeting since January 23rd that he pulled together as soon as they started seeing that this might be serious. And they had been planning, strategizing the entire month of February. When people were saying he was doing nothing, he was definitely doing something during that month. There's a whole timeline of shit he was doing. Anyway, then
1% and less than 1%. So this is deadly stuff.
Okay, so it's deadly stuff. But guess what? Almost everything he said there was incorrect. But now they're holding him to account for something he said that was incorrect. And say, the Time magazine. So now we have 200,000 people that died, and Time magazine puts out a black cover with the big 200,000 across it, almost like they're having a celebration. Grim milestone. Trump's fault. Is this any? It can't be just me. It cannot be just me. Do you think there is any form of coordination here? I'm sure Joe Biden has a campaign ad out today about it. Drip, drip, drip of absolute diarrhea. What did these morons say here? What did they say? Let's hear what they said again.
John, I just want all of us to remember we are used to the virus now, as used as you can be. But if you go back to the beginning of February, the American public, we thought this was a problem in China.
Guess what? In the beginning of February, it was a problem in China. Still.
Notion of it being airborne.
The notion of it being airborne. Remember that. Remember that sentence. We're going to get back to that sentence. We're going to get back to that. Because remember, we didn't have any. We had what? 3 or 4 cases on February 7th here? They thought they had them isolated. Remember that? They found the case in Washington, a couple cases in Washington, a case in Chicago, and I think they found a case in New York as of February 7th. They didn't know.
5% more deadly. These are very specific details that the president had in the very same time period that he is saying it's all going to go away.
Right.
No. Well, sort of. Good God. And so then they go to the other quote. All right, let's. So now, I asked you a question before. Who was advising the president? He had a team of people strategizing, talking about this, right? Had a team of people. And on the very first coronavirus task force, here, let me see if I can find this. Let's see. Here's an article from, this is January 30th. January 30th. President Trump establishes coronavirus response task force headed by HHS Secretary Alex Azar, who was eventually replaced by the vice president. Good morning, Jedi Ghost Bear, Miss Dr. No, Big Assassin 80, Anna Lynn, Cameraman Jay, and anyone else who stuck in while I wasn't paying attention. John Sislowski, I see you there. Okay, good morning. All right, so here we go. This is from January 30th. In response to potential health risks and anticipating multi-agency aspects of the U.S. government would need to unified approach, President Trump has assembled a unified task force to coordinate all response efforts across the totality of government. Wait a minute, I thought Trump didn't do anything. President Donald J. Trump announced the formation of the President's Coronavirus Task Force. Members of the task force have been meeting on a daily basis since Monday. This was actually the 23rd? I can't remember what the date they had been meeting. They had been meeting for a couple weeks. They announced it, but they had been meeting for, I think, 5 days earlier than that. Anyway. At today's meeting, which the president chaired, he charged the task force with leading the United States government response to the novel 2019 coronavirus and with keeping him apprised of developments. The task force is led by Secretary of Health and Human Services Alex Azar and is coordinated through the National Security Council. It is composed of subject matter experts from the White House and several United States government agencies, and it includes some of the nation's foremost experts on infectious diseases. By the way, remember how one of the arguments that you're going to hear over and over and over again? He disbanded the pandemic response team. I got a question for anyone who says that. Anybody, right? Anybody who says that. Be specific and tell me what exactly would a pandemic response team have done differently. Be specific. See if they have an answer for that. See if they have an answer. And if they say something bullshit like, well, they would have listened to the scientists. Oh, fuck off. What scientists would they have listened to? Okay, they would have listened to the scientists. Tell me the scientists, motherfucker. I'm swearing now. I'm going off today. God, thank you, Maddie. How you doing again? Maddie with the $5 says, first, quote, first he was lying, and now they say he knew. Check out the hook while the doctors revolve it. They have better DJ spin doctoring than Vanilla Ice did back in the day. Ice, ice, baby, to go. Thank you, Maddie. Appreciate that. That's a great point there. All right. The task force will lead the administration's effort to monitor, contain, and mitigate the spread of the virus whilst ensuring that the American people have the most accurate and up-to-date health and travel information. The president's top priority is the health and welfare of the American people. That's why in 2018, President Trump signed the National Biodefense Strategy, that's on the whitehouse.gov website, which improves speed of action in situations such as this. The administration, led by the president's task force, will continue to work to prevent the spread of the new coronavirus. The risk of infection for Americans remains low, according to the experts, and all agencies are working aggressively to monitor this continuously evolving situation and keep the public informed. For more information, visit DDC. Now, that was on January 30th. Oh, that was the middle of impeachment bullshit. Anyway, now, here are the members of the President's Coronavirus Task Force. Secretary Alex Azar, Department of Health and Human Services. Robert O'Brien, Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs. Dr. Robert Redfield, Director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And Dr. Anthony Fauci, Director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases and National Institutes of Health. Deputy Secretary Stephen Bingham, Department of State. Ken Cuccinelli, Acting Deputy Secretary, Department of Homeland Security. Joseph, blah, 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 blah. I don't care about any of these other people. The scientist that everybody trusts is on the original task force. Dr. Anthony Fauci. Okay, let's start with him. Now, if you're wondering why the president on tape with Bob Woodward on February 7th, 2020 may have said that the coronavirus is more deadly, blah, 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 that it's minimized the threat, but he minimized the threat to the public. And what was the other part? What was it? Oh, the 5%, death rate and the possibility and the airborne, blah, blah, blah. Well, let's look at what Dr. Fauci was saying at the time. Now, this is an interview with USA Today, published February 17th. Wait a minute. Well, let's go through this one first. Dr. Fauci, February 17th. This is the man that everybody trusts. He is the one that they would rather hear talking instead of the president of the United States during the task force meetings. He is the one that they revere. And he's been around for 3 different administrations prior to this. Everybody loves Dr. Fauci. Top disease. Now this is USA Today, February 17th, 2020. When remember, there are a lot of people out there still poo-pooing this disease. Remember? Bill de Blasio, they just had Fashion Week. It was fabulous. And now they're going to go into the Chinese New Year's. Oh, come on down to Chinatown. The health department of the New York State said, oh, come on down. You can still go to Chinese New Year. Nancy Pelosi's out in the streets. We're safe and come on down. Remember all that bullshit? Here's on February 17th, USA Today. Top disease official says, risk of coronavirus in USA is minuscule. Skip the mask and wash your damn hands, bitches. Not exactly in those words, but you know. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will be testing for the coronavirus in people in 5 major cities who show up at clinics with flu-like symptoms, but who test negative for the seasonal varieties. If that testing shows the virus has slipped into the country in places federal officials don't know about, we've got a problem. Dr. Anthony Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, told USA Today's editorial board Monday. What? What was his name again? Hi, Joseph Sorrow. That wasn't him. And Check Your Logic. Did I say hi to Check Your Logic? You were here early. Did I say hi to you? I meant to. Anyway, what's that guy's name that they interviewed? The USA Today editorial board? Oh, Dr. Anthony Fauci. Huh, that sounds familiar. He's on the president's task force, and he's the director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. He's the guy everyone trusts, right? Wait a minute. Short of that, Fauci says, skip the masks unless you are contagious. Don't worry about catching anything from Chinese products, and certainly don't avoid Chinese people in restaurants. Well, that's good. That's good, right? You don't need to, because they're not Chinese people. They're Americans of Chinese descent. Whenever you have the threat of transmissible infection, there are varying degrees from understandable to outlandish extrapolations of fear, Fauci said. By the way, is he downplaying this? I'm just curious. Government agencies, including Fauci's own National Institutes of Health, are being inundated with calls and emails from nervous people, just as they were during Ebola and SARS scares. Why did U.S. break Diamond Princess coronavirus quarantine? Something went awry. Fauci recalled how a nurse who was infected with Ebola took a flight to Ohio because she was asymptomatic and not at risk of infecting anyone. People everywhere suddenly thought all planes were unsafe. Hello, Cairo. I was getting calls from people in Sacramento saying, can I get on an airplane to go to Seattle? Fauci said. Like, what? What does that got to do with anything? Other advice from Fauci and Dr. Stephen Hahn, Food and Drug Administration Commissioner, includes, quote, Chinese projects. Oops. Oh, what the hell did I do there? Hang on a second. I had a little chair problem. I pushed the wrong lever. And when you're 6'4", you can't sit on a chair that's made for someone 5'2". All right, there we go. All right. So they say, okay, Chinese products. Don't worry about Chinese products. Coronavirus. Here's what they said on February 17th. Coronavirus is predominantly spread from spread in the air. This is February 17th. Who would have told you it was spread in the air? Coronavirus is predominantly spread in the air from humans to humans. Inanimate things that are placed in a container in China and sent to the U.S. don't carry any risk of transmitting the virus, Fauci said. Neither do medications made in China. Well, medications made in China don't work either. Anyway, imported shipments of FDA-regulated products, including from China, are reviewed by the FDA and have to meet the same standards of domestic products, blah, 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 blah. And then Han says, we want to reassure the public that at this time, there's no evidence that food or food packaging, we don't care about this. Oh, here, further, there is no evidence to support transmission of COVID-19 associated with imported goods, including food and drugs for humans, blah, 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 blah. Scam solutions, we're going to skip this. Masks, this is the part I wanted to get to. Masks. This is on February 17th. 2020. Hello, Makito programmer. On February 17, 2020, masks. The only people who need masks are those who are already infected to keep from exposing others. The masks sold at drugstores aren't even good enough to truly protect anyone, Fauci said. If you look at the mask that you buy in a drugstore, the leakage around that doesn't really do much to protect you, he said. People start saying, should I start wearing a mask? Now in the United States, they're to wear a mask. Fauci also doesn't want people to worry, but many are. Nancy Lamaska Smith of Portland, Oregon, got an Amazon package delivered from China this month. I jokingly asked my sister if I should be concerned, Lamaska Smith said. Her reply was to wash my hands and stay away from her. Stay the fuck away from me. Okay, I don't care what these people said. I want to go back to Fauci, though. Fauci, I'm skipping a couple of paragraphs. Fauci doesn't want people to worry about coronavirus, the danger of which is just minuscule, he said. At the same time, people are worrying about going to a Chinese restaurant. The threat is we have a pretty bad influenza season, particularly dangerous. He's saying the threat that we really have is a pretty bad influenza season, particularly dangerous for our children. Fauci offered his advice for people who want to protect against the real and present danger of seasonal flu, which also would protect against the hypothetical danger of coronavirus. Wash your hands as frequently as you can. Stay away from crowded places where people are coughing and sneezing. If in fact you are coughing and sneezing, cover your mouth, he says. You know, all the things we say each year. So this is the guy advising the president of the United States on February 7th. He said this on February 7th. But wait, there's more. There is more, ladies and gentlemen. The person who was advising the president on February 7th, on February 29th. Anyone remember this interview with Chuck Todd? Let's have a listen. Good morning, Sapphire Dragon. What's up? Let's listen to what, again, February 7th, the president of the United States was saying, 5% and transmit through the air, but we're downplaying because we don't want people to panic and buy even more toilet paper. You know what's funny? We never panicked and bought toilet paper, but when we found some, we would always buy one package, and some people were walking through Sam's Club with a whole cart of toilet paper. We're like, you're nuts. And we still have a bunch of toilet paper left over we haven't had to buy toilet paper since, I think, June. Even though we didn't buy that much. I can't imagine these people who are driving carts of toilet paper. And what the hell are you going to do with toilet paper? I'd be buying, I don't know what I'd be buying. Anyway, here's Dr. Fauci. What's the date on this again? March 8th on Meet the Press. Let's listen to Dr. Fauci. I need to full screen this. Let's get this whole pretty face and body up there. Listen to Dr. Fauci on March 8th, 2020. Holy smokes, March 8th. Listen to this.
We saw the extreme action taken in Italy.
Right.
We've seen warnings. Washington State is out there with saying anybody over the age of 60 needs to take extra precaution. Maybe stay home, don't go to large events. What's the likelihood we are going to have to do more extreme quarantining?
Well, you know, I think right now something that's important that I hope the American people appreciate is that the risk of getting into trouble with this infection, namely if you are infected, is overwhelmingly weighted towards people with underlying conditions and the elderly. And that's the reason why if you are an elderly person with an underlying condition, if you get infected, the risk of getting into trouble is considerable. So it's our responsibility to protect the vulnerable. When I say protect, I mean right now, not wait until things get worse. Say no large crowds, no long trips, and above all, don't get on a cruise ship.
No cruise, and how about no airplanes, no trains? Well, I mean, where are you on transportation?
No, here's where the recommendation from the CDC, I feel this way strongly, and this will be a recommendation. If you're a person with an underlying condition, and you are particularly an elderly person with an underlying condition, you need to think twice about getting on a plane on a long trip, and not only think twice, just don't get on a cruise ship.
Okay, now, interesting there. He was right? Ercole Di Stefano. How do the Russian mob feel about neo-Nazis? I don't know. That's a weird question, but welcome to the show. I'm glad you're here. There was someone else new that I saw here that I didn't say good morning to, but anyway, welcome to the show. By the way, if you're new here, Jenna Ghostbear, how you doing? If you're new here, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you get notifications of what we're doing. I don't know about how does the Russian mob feel about neo-Nazis. I don't know what that question means. Anyway, now, so there's something interesting that Dr. Fauci said there that seemed to be a little bit prophetic, right? Because he was talking about people with conditions and elderly and yada, yada, yada. Who's the vast majority of the people who've died from this particular disease? People with comorbidities, right? The people with the elderly, right? So he got that right. But he still, when he said something about cruise ships there, I think the reason he said that, it's kind of weird because I think it was a couple days earlier, Dr. Fauci said this.
I think if you're a healthy young person, that there is no reason, if you want to go on a cruise ship, to go on a cruise ship. Personally, I would never go on a cruise ship because I don't like cruises. But that's another story. But the fact is that if you have the conditions that I've been speaking about over and over again to this group, namely an individual who has an underlying condition, particularly an elderly person that has underlying condition, I would recommend strongly that they do not go on a cruise ship.
Yeah, thank you.
So that was March 9th. The doctor was saying, well, you know, unless you're an elderly person or someone with comorbidities, it's fine to go on a cruise. I wonder now, how could the President of the United States be downplayed? Hello, Will. How you doing? I didn't even see you walk in or jump in or whatever you call it when someone's in the chat. How on March 8th? Now, what did the President say all that stuff? He didn't want people to panic. Who was advising him again? Let me see. I haven't watched the rest of this. What else does she say now?
We know the coronavirus reacts a lot like the flu.
Okay.
In the way it spreads and in the way we prevent it. And so when we put out the guidelines to the American people, they will reinforce the guidelines, and we hope the number of flu cases go down too, because people will really be what we call situational awareness. I did want to add one piece to our cautions about people with pre-existing condition.
Again,
we also know that there are children with pre-existing conditions, and we know that there are individuals that are undergoing chemotherapy.
I'm just watching okay, I'm not going to watch the rest of this because I'm not. Moon-based radio. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. He's about 1.5 Ben Shapiro's tall. Good morning, Moon-based radio. Is that Hate Camel? I don't know. So anyway, I'm just laughing as I'm watching this because I'm watching all the guys behind Dr. Birx nodding as she talks. Like the Pence is just nodding, and then the other guy nods, and then the other guy nods.
If they have what we call decreased number of white cells, and they will have that discussions with the doctors.
Decreased.
They are given often a sheet of paper that really describes how.
Okay, I'm not concerned with Dr. Birx right now. I'm sticking with the main advisor to the President of the United States, who may have had some influence on what he knew when he knew it and how he presented it to the world. So but that was February. March 9th? He said that. Well, listen to this though. Listen to what he said on February 29th. Remember, they're complaining that the President of the United States was downplaying this virus, which he knew was deadly and was going to kill hundreds of thousands of people in the United States. And they're saying that he downplayed it when he was saying that he just didn't want people to panic. I understand, but you know what? One more thing that Dr. Fauci, the foremost expert that everybody trusts, here's what Dr. Fauci was saying on February. Oh, wait, what's the date of this? February 29th. I don't remember what show this was on, but we'll see as soon as it pops up. Here we go. Here's what Dr. Fauci was saying on February 29th. On the Today Show. Here's
We're getting many, many more tests out there, so that the health departments and even individual hospitals can be able to test much more easily, with the results getting back much more quickly.
So, Dr. Fauci, it's Saturday morning in America. People are waking up right now with real concerns about this.
Yes.
They want to go to malls and movies, maybe the gym as well. Should we be changing our habits, and if so, how?
No, right now, at this moment, there is no need to change anything that you're doing on a day-by-day basis. Right now, the risk is still low, but this could change. I've said that
it could change,
many times, even on this program. You've got to watch out, because although the risk is low now, you don't need to change anything you're doing. When you start to see community spread, this could change and force you to...
So, now, why would he say that on February 29th? Because they had no community spread yet. Remember, not until early March did they decide that this was even a March 16th is when the WHO declared a pandemic. They called it something of a concern in January, but concern just means it was in a couple countries and it hasn't spread yet. And in March 16th, they declared a pandemic, and that's when the Coronavirus Task Force came out and said, here's some new guidelines. We need you to follow them. This is important. Stop sending people with coronavirus to nursing homes, which 5 Democratic governors ignored. I shouldn't even laugh about that. But, Dr. Fauci did talk about the comorbidities when he was talking about whether or not he'd go on a cruise ship or not. Let's listen to the rest of it. But what was the question again? Let's find this question again. I want to hear the question. Here it is, right here. Here's the question.
America, people are waking up right now with real concerns about this. They want to go to malls and movies, maybe the gym as well. Should we be changing our habits, and if so, how?
Should we be changing our habits, and how? This is February 29th, which I know for a fact, an absolute fact, is later than February 7th. Again, Dr. Anthony Fauci, the smartest man in the world, on February 29th.
No, right now, at this moment, there is no need to change anything that you're doing on a day-by-day basis. Right now, the risk is still low, but this could change. I've said that many times, even on this program. You've got to watch out, because although the risk is low now, you don't need to change anything you're doing. When you start to see community spread, this could change and force you to become much more attentive to doing things that would protect you from spread. We are where we are
now, and then in February, then in April, oh my gosh, then in April, he decides that he's made a slight change here. Let's see what he says in April.
Factor. It's very complicated, Jake.
The New York Times reported yesterday that you and other top officials wanted to recommend social and physical distancing guidelines to President Trump as far back as the third week of February.
What? What is Jake's question here? What the hell did he just ask?
The New York Times reported yesterday that you and other top officials wanted to recommend social and physical distancing guidelines to President Trump as far back as the third week of February, but the administration didn't announce such guidelines to the American public until March 16th, almost a month later. Why?
Good question.
Jake, as I've said many times, we look at it from a pure health standpoint. We make a recommendation. Often the recommendation is taken. Sometimes it's not. But it is what it is. We are where we are right now.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Hang on. February 29th.
At this moment, there is no need to change anything that you're doing on a day-by-day basis. Right now, the risk is still low, but this could change. I've said.
Wait a minute. What was Jake's question? What the hell did Jake ask him?
That you and other top officials wanted to recommend social and physical distancing guidelines to President Trump as far back as the third week of February.
The third week of February. What was the date of the other interview? February 29th? What did he say?
Now, at this moment, there is no need to change anything that you're doing on a day-by-day basis. Right now.
Fascinating. Now, I don't blame Dr. Fauci either. This is a virus. You know, one of the funny things that I find as I watch people argue about this on Twitter and elsewhere is how there are actually people out there who are saying that Donald Trump is responsible for every single COVID death. Every one of them. And I find that to be a fascinating statement. That to me is just peak Trump derangement syndrome. You know, because if Donald Trump, let's say, because remember, as far as our deaths per million, we're not even, you know, we're in the top 20. We're like 12. We're down to 12 now because a couple countries have passed us. But to say that, so per capita, or even raw numbers, does that mean in every country in the world, because it's happening in 214 countries, is the leader of each country responsible for every death in their country? Does that make sense? I mean, it's not like it's the United States is the only place this is happening, but they seem to think it is. It's just really strange to me that people think that way, and I just don't get it. Now, interesting, Fauci now, when he's been asked about this, because they are, you know, they're all over Trump, and so they're asking Fauci, and Fauci actually, in this case, isn't throwing Trump on the bus. He says that Trump did not distort the impact of the pandemic. Dr. Anthony Fauci on Wednesday said he doesn't think President Trump was publicly distorting the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. During an interview with Fox News' John Roberts, Fauci said Trump's public press conferences in the early spring mostly echoed what the members of the White House Corona Task Force were telling him in private. And in fact, the members of the task force got to speak for themselves. So they were giving you lots of information during that time. Anyway, he says, I didn't see any discrepancies between what he told us and what we told him, and what he ultimately came out publicly and said. Fauci, the country's top infectious disease expert and head of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said He really didn't say anything different than we discussed when we were with him, Fauci said. During the interview, Fauci stressed that he was speaking about his own conversations and interactions with the president. Remember, I'm a small frame in the big picture of what goes on, Fauci said. Except, Dr. Fauci, all the people believe you because you're the expert. But I digress. Fauci acknowledged that Trump would want to make sure the country wouldn't get down and out about things, but added, I don't recall anything that was a gross distortion in anything I spoke to him about. Again, the whole task force was allowed to speak their minds. Fauci was responding to a new book written by Washington Post associate editor Bob Woodward, in which Trump went on the record to say he publicly downplayed the threat of the emergency coronavirus pandemic, despite knowing its actual danger. Well, clearly he didn't know the actual danger because he overestimated it by about 4%. In a 4 out of 5. So 80%. Anyway, Trump told Woodward on March 19th interview, okay, whatever. He always wanted to play it down to avoid creating a panic. Yes. And again, there were some choices he could have used. He could have said, yes, everyone hide in your basement like Joe Biden and don't come out until next fall because everyone's going to die. And then all the stores would have been empty of everything, not just toilet paper and chicken. And we probably would have had more people die and more people panic and more people commit suicide and more people fucking looting and killing and maiming and setting cities on fire. Oh, wait a minute. That's already happening. Never mind. Anyway, I'm just saying, holy shit. But there, and yes, he made, and yes, he made some statements that were not a little overly optimistic on certain things. Hey, there's my football. Anyway, oh my God. Shall we continue? Let's just stay on the coronavirus thing for the rest of the show. There's a few other articles here that I have. So here, lockdowns are now a political issue for every official on the November ballot. Americans on either side of the debates surrounding COVID-19 need to hear how office seekers would respond to the next COVID-19 spike, pandemic, flu. By the way, hi Adam Richard. By the way, let me put the screen away. Hang on a second. I want to check out something here. Let's take a quick look at the Worldometer. Let's just check out the Worldometer just to see what's happening in the world on the Worldometer. Okay, so I've got the I want the world, not the, well, actually, let's do the United States first. Here's the Worldometer for the United States, and this is just total cases: California, Texas, Florida, New York, most cases. Now, what's interesting here. California, 747,000 cases. Texas, 667,000. Florida, 652,000. New York, 474,000. Wait. Oh, cases. Cases doesn't really tell you anything. Let's go by deaths, total deaths. New York and New Jersey at the top. Texas and California right behind them. But 33,000 in New York? 16, 14, and 13,000 and 12,000 in New Jersey, Texas, California, Florida total. But wait a minute. Let's look at deaths per million. Oh, my goodness. New York, 1,800 per million. New Jersey, 1,800. New York, 1,700 per million. Massachusetts, 1,300 per million. Connecticut, 1,200 per million. Louisiana, 30. What? Wait, that's not. Oh, death per million. Yeah. 1,000. Rhode Island. Mississippi's the first Republican state at number 7. But then you got District of Columbia, Arizona. But Okay, so I'm looking for Texas. Where'd the hell Texas go? Texas, 484 per million versus New York, 1,700. That's 4 times as many. Where's Florida? Florida, 564. 3 times as many per million in New York died. Where's that other state they were talking about? Arizona. Is Arizona in the top 10? Well, they're up here. Still twice as many in New York per million died. What's that other state they keep talking? Georgia, 577. So 4 times as many people died per million in New York City. That's amazing. Now, California actually did a nice job. California's doing okay, 354, but now they're in major lockdown. By the way, so let's go back to the world again. Let's check out the world. There was a point I was trying to make here. So, because they like to talk about the raw numbers, right? They like to talk about how the United States has the most coronavirus deaths, the most cases. Now, cases, if you have cases where people don't die, I don't know how bad. I mean, it's bad either way. You don't want people dying of anything. But the idea that somehow, what the hell's that? Why isn't this? Come on, what the hell's going on here? Hang on. We're having a little internet issue. I'll let that work itself out, and then we'll come back to it. But what's fascinating, so we've had kind of a mishmash, state by state policies on lockdowns and what, masks and all this other stuff. And, a lot of the states some of the states that did nothing are also sparsely populated. So it's hard to compare that to, like, say, it's really hard to compare South Dakota, for example, to New York or New Jersey. Very densely populated places, very sparsely populated states. But now we get into the world meter for the world, okay? And people love to talk, we have so many cases compared to everybody, right? What's interesting is now in India, all of a sudden, they're starting to get a surge of cases. Brazil has, Peru, Colombia, Mexico, South Africa, are suddenly in the top 10 in total cases, but USA is number 1, right? And then if you go to deaths, total deaths, USA is still number 1. We're just over 200,000 now. This hasn't been updated. But now Brazil, India, Mexico, UK, okay, all those countries. But then you say it's raw numbers, right? How about per million and deaths per million? Now, I don't count San Marino. San Marino is really just basically a part of Spain, even though it's its own separate entity. But all of a sudden, Peru. Now, where did Peru come from? Because Peru wasn't even on the list in the top 50 6 months ago, or 4 months ago. Peru apparently had the most stringent lockdowns in the world. They literally locked down the entire country. And all of a sudden, deaths per million, if you take away San Marino, which is really kind of a part of Spain, they have the worst death rate in the world. Followed by Belgium. Followed by Spain. Followed by Chile. Followed by the UK. Followed by Bolivia. Followed by Ecuador. Followed by Brazil, and then here's the United States. And in fact, right now, also then behind the United States, Italy, Sweden, which did nothing. Basically, they just said, hey, everyone, take care of the people who have comorbidities. They're not going to mandate masks. They didn't shut down their businesses. They have a lower death per million than us, than Spain, than Italy, than Belgium, just barely more than France. And they did not shut down their economy. So it almost seems like you can shut down your economy, you can not shut down your economy, or you can kind of do a combination like we did. And it really almost doesn't matter. It's going to run its course whether you shut down the world or not. I prefer Adam. I prefer Dan Marino to San Marino. Okay, there you go. Dan Marino, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. So anyway, it seems to me, so it doesn't matter. Did we do the right thing by shutting down our economy? By shutting down things? I don't know. And you can't tell based on what anybody else did. These places where they're like, oh, like Iceland. Oh, Iceland didn't have any. Iceland's a fucking island. They can control everyone who comes in and out of that country. And I'm not sure there's a whole lot of people from China traveling to Iceland. Now, Taiwan, that's a different story. They've had great success. But remember, Taiwan doesn't trust the Chinese as far as they can throw the whole country. So they had their people in there checking out the genome and whatever. And before anyone else knew about it, and then shut down their island too. So I'm just saying, is the president of Peru responsible for all 30,236 deaths in that country? Is the prime minister of Belgium responsible for all 9,917 deaths in Belgium? Is the president or prime minister, I don't know what it is in Spain, whatever, their leader, to say Donald Trump's responsible every single 200,000 deaths? But on twitter.com, and then here's how Twitter puts this out here. Trump stated in an interview with journalist Bob Woodward that he wanted to play what's this ellipsis? What are they leaving out here? Down the gravity of COVID-19. But they did say they wanted to avoid creating panic. You got people like Jake Tapper out here doing a thread. Glenn Kessler doing a thread. The fact checker for the Washington Post, which is kind of oxymoron. Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is mostly just the people who gave. These aren't the people who are just big deranged. Let's go to the hashtag Trump new. Let's look at some of the fever swamp. Eric Swalwell. We have 190,000 dead Americans over here. Trump new. Okay, and how? Again, the question I ask: how would you, if someone says, "Oh, this and that," they should have known what they should have done something. Okay, tell me what they should have done specifically, and what date. Give me the dates you would have done something different. Because if it was me, I'd have done what Sweden did. Said, look, we have this thing. You got to be careful. You got to wash your hands. You got to, avoid each other if you can. Masks are optional, and go about your business. Because I don't think it would have made a damn bit of difference whatsoever. I honestly believe that. I'm looking at countries that went full metal jacket shutdown, and countries who didn't do shit. Or in the United States that did major lockdowns, the states did very little. You notice that they're not talking about Florida, Georgia, Arizona, and Texas anymore. Why? Because after their little surge of cases are going down, hospitalizations are going down, deaths are declining. You notice they're not talking about Europe right now, right? Why? Because in the United States, cases are declining, the number of new cases are declining, the number of deaths are declining, the number of new hospitalizations are declining. But in Europe, they're rising again in some of the places where they shut down. Anybody hear that yet? Have any of you heard one newscast talk about how the cases are rising in some countries in Europe right now? Oh, you didn't? I wonder why. Oh, yeah, that's right, because the American media is the, what do you call it? The publicist arm for the Democratic Party. So they don't want you to know those things either. But I read that in, I think, the American version of Der Spiegel or somebody. I don't even remember. But it's So anyway, the political hit jobs are going to continue. And sometimes you just got to really look at the timeline and you got to ask the right questions. And right now, the right question is, okay, what exactly did Trump not do that his task force asked him to do? That question, there is no answer. They say, listen to the scientist. He should have listened to the scientist. Okay. Which scientist should he have listened to? Dr. Fauci, who was on his task force and that he listened to and did pretty much everything Dr. Fauci recommended? Is that who he got his advice from? Isn't that your favorite scientist? Because when Joe Biden says he should listen to the science. Come on, man. How could you not listen to the science? And everyone should wear a mask. I don't know why. I just don't understand why he doesn't have everyone wearing a mask. You know, when I'm on the first day, we're gonna shut down the entire country because, have you seen my pudding? Oh yeah. Well, you know the thing. Hairy legs. Okay, back to some more Trump new. Oh, here's Trump new. Trump knew it was a deadly virus. Everybody knew it was a deadly virus, you fucking morons! Trump knew it was transmitted in the air. Au contraire! Ask Dr. Fauci if it's transmitted in the air. Trump knew it was more dangerous than the flu. Barely. Withheld it for the truth from the public. What were those fucking press conferences? How did he withheld it? What did he withheld? Be specific, and when did he withhold it? The whatever. He knew it was a deadly virus. Okay, yeah, on February 7th, everyone knew it was a deadly virus, and it wasn't here yet, for all practical purposes. It was transmitted in the air. Yeah, not really. And on the 29th, Dr. Fauci said, well, you don't need masks. Only people who have it should have a mask to protect other people. So what does that mean? Are they expecting Donald Trump to be the expert on this, too? I'm just curious. There are a lot of actual experts talking about it, right? Oh, I'm sorry. I don't have anything on this on the screen. Let's say Trump knew 53% of white women president put on blast with audio proving he knew how deadly COVID-19 was in February. Blood soaks his little hands. Really? On February 7th? See, these people are acting like he said it like he didn't, like they did nothing. Boy, I'll tell you what, they need to recheck their timelines and see what the experts around him were saying. Then you'll get an idea why he said what he said. See, they keep bringing these isolated times where he said something, but they don't tell you, they're not real good at telling you the date. They're not good at telling you what the experts were saying at the time. They're not good at telling you what we knew at the time, because they didn't know for sure whether or not it was transmitted through the air like an aerosol or if it was just droplets. Now they know it's just droplets. Again, what he said, the things he said on February 7th, we figured out are not true. That's the whole thing on this that makes me laugh. Everyone's talking about like this. Okay, this right here. Trump knew it was a deadly virus. Okay, yeah, they knew that it was killing people in China. Hadn't killed anybody here yet. He knew it was transmitted in the air. Well, we thought it might be transmitted through an aerosol, and that's what Dr. Fauci said, and that's what they were finding out. But now we find out it's not. So your mask ain't helping you. It doesn't do anything for you. In fact, the mask doesn't help you if it was transmitted through the air. And then it was more dangerous than the flu. Well, he thought it was like 5% death rate when it's actually below 1% now. But it's still slightly more dangerous than the flu. And apparently it's a little bit, it must be a little bit easier to transmit. And also it's more dangerous to people who have comorbidities, since 94% of the people who died had 2 or more comorbidities. So it's dangerous to whom? Is it dangerous to me, a healthy guy with no respiratory issues whatsoever? Nah, probably not so much. Might feel like a bad cold. Or to a child going to school, might have a cough. Is it dangerous to people who are elderly? Since I think more than 90% of the people who've died from this have been 70 or older, or have comorbidities, more than 2. So everything he said on February 7th, other than it was a deadly virus, which a lot of viruses are deadly, everything he said on February 7th in this recording is false. So it doesn't matter what he said on February 7th. And his own advisor 2 weeks later was saying you don't have to make any changes to your lifestyle unless ... You know what he said, because we already watched it. Hilarious. But boy, they're milking the shit out of this. A tragic loss that did not have to be. How do you know? By the way, how do you know? What exactly? So the funny thing about this too is people are like, yes, Trump, it's Trump's fault that every single one of these deaths happened. Really? How many deaths would not have happened, and what would have stopped them based on when we figured out the virus was in the United States? No answer? I didn't think so. You lied. 195,000 Americans have died. Law and order means you go to jail, poultry fornicator. Let's be clear. Homeland Security's Chad Wolf suppressed white supremacist threats because the Trump administration has embraced white supremacists. What the fuck does this have to do? They are white supremacists. Trump's a white supremacist. Stephen Miller is white supremacist. None of this is an accident. It didn't have to be this way. Rest in peace, Dad. Love you. Trump knew. Trump didn't kill your dad. You encouraged these fools to storm state houses because their states decided to try and save Americans. The blood of the dead is on your hands. You didn't just shoot on someone on Fifth Avenue. You tried to kill millionaires. Some of them saying, and some of these people are saying he killed people on purpose. You seem stable. For the past 6 months, the president has publicly underplayed this virus while himself knowing the truth. This isn't leadership, it's gaslighting. No, you're gaslighting. It's unbelievable. He really doesn't give a shit about your lives. These people are deranged. Just fucking deranged. Trump knew and he lied that 195,000 Americans died. Trump knew that COVID harms children back in March. while there are some cases of children being harmed, again, comorbidities. I think I've had enough of this, guys. I just have. Sorry, I'm gonna use my last 5 minutes. I'm gonna use my last 5 minutes. What has to be a troll? I'm gonna use my last 5 minutes to find out if there's anything else happening on this planet right now. No panic. Oh, no panic is trending. Let's see. Now, by the way, Bob Woodward is taking some heat for this, for waiting until his most opportune moment to sell books, as if what Trump said meant something that everyone in the country should have known, and he's taking a lot of shit for this. Why didn't Bob Woodward tell us after the interview in February if this was so bad? Well, because maybe Bob Woodward actually listened to what he said back then and then listened to the task force and realized that they were taking it seriously at the time. Plus, maybe Bob Woodward wanted to be able to get another interview with whoever he wants, and probably wouldn't have worked. So anyway, so he's complaining. They're complaining about a tweet of him doing Law and Order. I'm skipping this. Let's just look at what's happening in the news. Updates in the news right now. India pauses trials of AstraZeneca's COVID-19 vaccine. They're having trouble with some vaccines in different places in the world where they're stopping their trials on certain ones because they oh my God. Sorry. DHS official says acting Secretary Chad Wolf told him to downplay intelligence information because it would make Trump look bad. You know what? This is all, again, another anonymous. Oh no, this one's not anonymous. Of a senior official at the Department of Homeland Security, Brian Murphy, allegedly in a whistleblower complaint that he was ordered to cease providing intelligence assessments on the threat of Russian interference in the U.S. and instead start reporting on interference activities in China and Iran. He claims he was ordered to do so as to provide information that matched President Trump's misleading rhetoric to the American people. It's so funny how they will editorialize anything Trump says. This will be interesting to see if who this guy is. I'm gonna guess he's one of these entrenched, entrenched bureaucrats that were left over from prior administrations. Because the intelligence community isn't happy with Trump because he's exposing some of their bullshit, and between Durham and Barr, and they're exposing the swamp, right? So the so-called swamp, more like the latrine. Anyway, that'll be big news today. Let's see, anything else in the news? California fire still raging, also in Oregon too. Town ravaged by worst fire in California history faces a new threat. LA County walks back decision to cancel Halloween trick-or-treating. They were to cancel trick-or-treating on Halloween. Haunted houses and carnivals are still outlawed, but LA County officials changed their tack on trick-or-treating, now saying it isn't recommended, but not canceled, not illegal. Besides, won't most people be wearing masks anyway? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. All right, anything else new? Wildfires, Trump stated interview. Yeah, we know about that. Learn more about voter registration and absentee ballot. Trudeau announces $220 million program for black entrepreneurs. All righty then. State police acquired military weapon. That's from September 8th. That's from 2 days ago. Anything else new? It doesn't look like there's anything else. Everything's from prior days. And no real breaking news. 1 hour ago, actor Dame Diana Rigg dies. Oh, one of the original. Okay, so he's one of the original Avengers. I didn't even realize, it didn't even click in my head when I saw her in Game of Thrones. That's the same Diana Rigg from the Avengers, the 60s television series. My mom and I used to watch reruns of that all the time. What a great show. And she was obviously the Queen Mother in Game of Thrones. That's unfortunate. Rest in peace, Diana Rigg. There's a picture of her back in the day with Anthony Hopkins. He was also in a James Bond movie. Rest in peace, Diana Riggs. If you could ever find the old Avengers series, though, what a great show. She was a Bond girl. Yeah, that's true too. Oh, hi, Gamer Feline. I didn't see you there. All right, folks, that's it for today. The veins in my head are stretched as far as they can go, and I just gotta call it a day. Hey, but before you leave, before you click that button, please remember to click the like button before you go. I forgot to do this. Did I do the show today? I don't know. Anyway, thanks to the people who did Super Chats. Maddie, Anita Handjob, and Black Hebrew Israelite. The superstar donor of the day goes to Anita Handjob. Congratulations. And also, I'll be here tomorrow, as I am most Mondays through Fridays, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, 1500 GMT for our friends around the world who don't use American time zones. And please, before you go, hit the like button, share the stream out. Even though you're leaving, share the stream. Also, if you are watching on replay, put a comment down in the comment section so that I know you're here. If you'd like to donate to the show, help us out, help me out. You can do that through the Streamlabs link in the description down below. Also, Venmo and Cashapp. We are an equal opportunity, whatever you call that. I don't know. Money grubbing fool. I don't know. But anyway, hey, hope you had fun. Tomorrow I might have a guest. We'll see. I'm working on one. But I finally sent out all my letters to have guests for the rest of throughout the rest of the year. So we'll see some people you might know and some you don't know. But come and check them out when we have them. That's it for today, people. I gotta go. My name is Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the Dawg Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterward so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through the Streamlabs link, which is also in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.